You know how much I absolutely love empowering all of our listeners in their life and reminding you that you are in charge, that everything in your life you hold some power in. If it's not in the actual situation and circumstance, it's in your reaction to it, it's in how you respond, it's in how you move on or through that situation, right? And this applies to our relationships, this applies to our businesses, this applies to absolutely every part of our existence, right? You are in charge. You are the director of this movie that we are living in this moment. And one thing that I think is really, really, really important in really stepping into that role is the awareness of that, number one. And number two, it's taking action because just knowing is not enough. And we talk about that a lot in our coaching at Seizing Happy. Being aware is not enough. You have to do, you have to take action, right? And so today, our guests, we have two guests on the show today. And one of the reasons I'm super excited to have them on is because their book is part of our Seizing Happy Hybrid Community Book Club. You know that every month inside our Seizing Happy Hybrid Community, we showcase a different book, and then the members of our community, so that could be you, get to submit the questions that they want me to ask the authors. So essentially, you get to interview the authors with me. Sometimes we do these interviews pre recorded, like today. Sometimes we host the interviews live inside the community, and you get to speak with the authors yourself. So, this is pretty exciting for all of my bookworms out there. Outside of everything we do inside the Seizing Happy Hybrid community, like our Confluence Circles events, like our Move, Breathe, Grow events, like our online virtual workshops, and guest speakers. Outside of that, we also have our Readers Circle, where my bookworms and I get to enjoy some books together and then interview the authors together. And the book that we did last month or this month is I Decide. The authors are Erin Lopez and Lisa Cox. And this book, I Decide, in the first 48 hours of being launched, was best selling in four different categories: small business and selling, personal success and spirituality, consulting, and women in business. So, needless to say, I had to have these ladies on the show to talk about this amazing book, I Decide, the happy little guide to living your best life. I really, really enjoyed reading this book because it's so easy to read. It is actionable, it is practical, and it comes accompanied by a 90-day tracking journal, the I Decide 90-day tracking journal, which is super practical. And we talk a lot about it in this interview. So if you are in that moment where there is a powerful decision that you need to make for your life, this is the episode for you. Lisa Cox is the CEO of Live Clean Lisa and is well known throughout the home based direct sales and social retail industry for her experience, knowledge, and passion for improving the lives of others. The gift of having the flexibility to raise her two beautiful and successful daughters motivated her to inspire others to chase their ultimate financial and time freedom, which I think is absolutely amazing. She's a multi-million dollar earner and an advocate for health, fitness, laughter, and clean living. Our next guest, who is joining Lisa, is Erin Lopez, and she is a wife, a mother, and entrepreneur behind a Lopez lifestyle, a well sought after speaker, author, and leader in the direct sales industry. She brought her 25 years of experience in the fashion industry to build an entrepreneurial business to help others find success. And she quickly built a multi-million dollar business while raising her beautiful children. She brings grace and humor and a great pair of shoes on her mission of teaching others how to have a healthier life, teaching the art of branding and becoming the very best version of themselves. So, when you're in that space of making the decision to change your life for the better, this book is the book you want to read. And this episode of the Chats with Gigi podcast is the one you want to listen to. This is Chats with Gigi, a podcast for women who are ready to step into their power, get unstuck, and create more freedom in all areas of life. I'm your host, Gigi Diaz, certified life and business coach, media personality, and multi-passionate entrepreneur. I've helped hundreds of women find the necessary clarity, confidence, and courage to build their dream life and achieve success with less stress. If you're seeking weekly motivation, practical and spiritual advice, and tangible resources to scale in life and in business, then you're in the right place. Are you ready? Here we go. I am so excited to get this episode started because the whole concept of being the person in charge of your life is what all of Seizing Happy and the Chats with Gigi podcast has been focused on forever, because we are the directors, right? We are the directors of this movie that we're living, that is our life. And so I'm so excited, Lisa and Erin, to have you here on the show today. Welcome and thank you for joining me. I guess the first question that I have for you is, how did you two masterminds and powerhouses even come together in the first place to bring us the gift of this book?
I'll start. So it started many years ago. We were both in business for ourselves and happened to run into each other at an event and instantly clicked as friends. I saw in her such greatness, and I truly immediately said I wanted to work with her. And I don't even know where that came from, but it just, you click with someone. She felt like a sister immediately, and I loved her vision and how she worked and her drive. So that was many years ago. And I kind of stalked her because we were in different companies, different direct selling companies. And I really did follow her and stay in touch because I saw that greatness. And we became friends, and we kept talking and staying in touch and comparing notes and comparing life events. And we both have 2 daughters and wonderful spouses. And then about 7 years ago, we finally got together and started working together. And in that process, we started talking about this book. We started talking about a vision of creating a movement of something a little bit more and outside of our businesses, something that we could do to take the tools and lessons that we've learned throughout many years of being an entrepreneur and help other people make these really strong decisions. So that's how we came together. It was actually one day by a pool with a glass of champagne in our hand. And we just said, we were just like, you know what, let's do this. Let's get to work together on this, and let's make this happen. And less than a year later, we had the book.
I love to hear that, because I think that there's such a beauty in having women come together for fun. This was a fun project, right? This wasn't like, oh, we're going to focus on our business and we're going to sell more in our business, or we're going to launch a business together and make a ton of money. And like, yeah, of course, we always want to impact the lives and help other people and all that jazz. But this was, from what it sounds like, it was your idea of like, let's do this really fun thing together just for the sake of fun. And look at how much beauty and power has come from that. So, Erin, what has been the biggest impact for you in creating this fun project that, sure, eventually became its own business project, but the original seed was, let's do something beautiful together? How did that happen? What was that conversation like? And what does it feel like now on the other side of that?
Oh my gosh. So many amazing, beautiful things have come out of this that I don't think we expected. I mean, I will say, hearing everyone's stories of their I decide moments, of how this book impacted them, that I don't think that they expected. I mean, it's a short read. It's something that we knew that we had created success in our business, but we wanted to do something bigger. And like you said, something fun. So, this project became 100% a passion project that we knew it was our duty to help others make and find that decision in their moment. But I think what has been so continuously overwhelmingly amazing to us is hearing from people those moments. And they're reading these stories of all walks of life, whether it be it has to do with your finances, your health, who's surrounding you and your circle of friends. And then just those touch points of hearing from people, it's just it's never going to get old. Let's just say that of how this is impacting others all around us.
I love to hear that. And the beauty, were you going to say something, Lisa?
Oh no, I was just agreeing, and so it just makes me want to smile because we cried a lot, Gigi, during this process, and we laughed a lot. And I say cried because some of the stories in the book are really emotional, and really
Yes.
people were at some really low points in their lives. And so when Erin and I sat and wrote this book together, we like cried, we laughed, so when you say, it was such a fun project, but it was also super emotional putting it all together.
Yeah, I love to hear that. And I think that is so easy to receive when we're reading the book, to see the beauty and the ups and downs and like the roller coaster that is deciding. And I want to get into that because I think that this is such a powerful, and I have the book right next to me. This is such a powerful topic, right? Like deciding to be the person that you imagine yourself being in the future. Because we do it all the time. We sit around and we're like, man, I can't wait until I have blank or until I can blank or until I do blank so that I can blank, right? Whatever that is for you, right? Like launch the business, write the book, be a better wife, get in shape, do whatever it is that you really, really visualize yourself being in the future, that version, that powerful version of you, right? But we never actually get to that version of ourselves unless we decide and we take action, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. What does that look like? What does the moment of decision look like?
I'll start. I think that, and in our book, our first chapter is mindset. And I think that everything comes down to being mentally ready to be able to make that decision. I mean, we don't want to make this sound like it's easy because, I mean, like you said, we all have these dreams and goals, and this is what I want to do, and this is what I want to be. And it starts with like a decision that we can make, not anybody else, not our spouse, not our family, not our past. And so I think it comes down to making and having the right mindset to say, I decide, I'm going to decide. And when Lisa and I thought about all of the things that have gotten us to this point in our career that have gotten us, we kept saying, we decided. So I think we both, and then again, it's our first chapter of our book of talking about mindset is so key, and the different types of mindset you can have of, a fixed mindset, which is this is what it is. And so I'm just going to make the best of it. No, like we want people to have the growth mindset was this is what I was given. And guess what? I'm going to like work with it and change it and make it. And it stops here and it stops with me. So I think, and I know Lisa can say much more on that, but I think the first step we've discovered in helping people is it's like, it's all here. It's all in your mind.
Absolutely. And something else that you talk about in the first chapter, which I found absolutely fascinating, and I think it's so much fun. And one of the things that I talk about all the time is celebrating your wins, especially the little ones, because we get so caught up in I want to get all the way over there, right? Wherever our big, long, stretchy goal is, which is fantastic. But if you're not taking a moment to really pause and enjoy the little bits in between, the small accomplishments, you kind of lose that motivation because it could take a while to get to the big goal. So how do we keep that motivation in the trajectory of getting to where it is we want to be in that process, that path that we have to take where every day we have to decide to stay on that path? How do we keep that?
I feel like we have to, number one, we have to know exactly why we're trying to go where we're trying to go. We got to know our why. Everyone knows that. You've got to have a powerful why that makes you cry, one that gets you out of bed in the morning. So you have to know where you're going because that's what's going to make you bulletproof. You've got to keep reminding yourself of that. And as you hit those little wins, reflecting back on, okay, I'm on my way, one step at a time. And then I think it's really important to surround yourself with the right people. I think that so many times we kind of self-sabotage by saying, I want to do this, but then they're not changing their circle of influence. They don't have the right mentors. They don't have the right people that can guide them and lead them on their way. And then I also feel like it's so important that they're filling up with really good stuff, like podcasts by GiGi. They need you. They need you, GiGi. And the inspiration and motivation and the love that you put out there is a gift to the world. And I mean that. And, the world needs more. When I speak of women a lot, because I've primarily worked with women over all the years. And the saddest part that I find is that they, number one, get in their own way. They stop believing in themselves. Their hearts don't have the passion in them anymore because they haven't celebrated any little wins, and they definitely don't have the right mentors. So if you're filling up daily with good books, good podcasts, surrounding by the right people, and you have to go out and seek those. Okay. It's your job in your moment when you know where you want to go and what you want to do with your life, that you have to bring this on yourself. You can't depend on the world to bring it to you, because that's going to be a long time waiting. So those are some of the things that we talk about, the tools and the things that we always try and implement into people's world who are trying to make this massive change. Is let's get you the right mentor, the right coach, the right leader, surround yourself with them, and then daily fill up with good stuff to where any of the negative thoughts or fear gets pushed out, because you're filling up with I know that I can do this, or how I can climb this mountain, or how I can keep moving forward type of things.
I love to hear that. And you're absolutely right. There's something so powerful about the influences around you, right? And sometimes we think the influences are just our friends, but it's what we consume also. The books we read and the podcasts we listen to, the news that we watch, the things that we follow, the accounts that we follow on our social media, all of those are influences that can impact what we do and don't do, and that can impact what we do and don't believe, and that can impact how we even feel in the moment that we're going to make a decision one way or another, and we consume the wrong thing. It'll definitely sway us in the wrong direction that may not be the most beneficial one. And so I love that you just said that. And something you mentioned too is really important. It is how sometimes we get in our own way. We can't seem to get out of our own way, right? So in the book, you talk about the three main excuses that we give to ourselves. So do you guys want to kind of go over those? Because those are so good. They're so powerful.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I think the first one is, we don't have time. Let's be honest. Most of us are going to say, I don't have time. I don't have enough time in the day. And I think the reality of it is that we all have the same amount of hours in the day. It's just a matter of choosing what we're going to do with those hours. And we're all busy. We're talking about women here. We're moms, we're wives, we're friends, we're sisters. We're doing so many different things. I think it's really a matter of coming to realize we have the time. It's you do what you want to do. And I think that was a big reality for a lot of people, including ourselves, that time is an excuse, really. And I think another one is that I don't have the money. We love, and we say in our book, and Dean Graziosi says it best, that those that don't have enough money haven't given enough away. And when you can give money away, let's be honest, money does not bring joy, but money is the root of everything that we do. And so when we say, I don't have the money, well, let's change that and have the mindset and find the time so you can have the money. So I think that, those two, and I'll let Lisa, jump in on this one, but it's the time and the money that I think we're trying to get people to stop using as an excuse and say, nothing is going to stop me. Nothing is going to stop me.
And the third, I'm too tired. People, I hate that excuse. I never want to hear that. We have to take care of our bodies in order to be our best self. And one of the biggest things that we talk about is how do you maintain your own life to where you're not saying and walking around using the excuse that I'm too tired, and to where if you're taking care of your health and your body and your mind spiritually, and putting in the right energy, putting in the right foods, having enough sleep and rest, and doing the right things. So when you show up as your best, and you don't have to use excuses like this, and the excuses stop people in their tracks constantly. It makes me want to be upset with them, because I just want to shake them by their shoulder and say, no. You can change all of this yourself, and we're going to help you. And we're going to give you some tools to help you do that. Because to say that I'm too tired just means that they are not taking care of themselves. And if they're not taking care of themselves, they're not serving the people around them, and they're not showing up as their best, and they're not going to get to where they want to go.
I love to hear that. And it actually leads me straight into the next part of the book that I think is completely complementary of what you're saying is when you are too tired, the book has those tools. And we'll talk about the manual in a second too. But the book has those tools, especially in chapter 3, where it talks about like the ways that we self sabotage and how we sometimes are our own worst enemy. We are our own biggest obstacle, right? Not just with these 3 excuses, but with a number of other things, right? And so one of them that you talk about that I absolutely love is self talk. So, can we go into the importance of that? Because we get lost in our minds so often with the I coulda, shoulda, wouldas, and that maybe I can, and that what ifs, right? So, can you give us some tools in regards to how can we get better at being better for ourselves?
I'll let Lisa jump in on this, and I'm sure I'll have something to say.
Well, one of the things I just want to say is most people aren't at a young age given the tools to do this. And it is something you have to teach yourself because in our brain, we typically go to the negative. We typically go to, I can't do this or I can't do that. Some people had parents that fed into them positive words when they were young and fed into them, you can do anything in the world that you choose to do. And you're up for it. I know, I believe in you. But since most of us weren't given that, it's so important that we seek it out. So I just feel like one of the best things that we could ever do again is by filling up on positive reading every single day. Read 10 pages of a good book. One of the things in the morning, I always say, set your foundation for your entire day. Because if you set your day by waking up with enough time, and sometimes that means setting an alarm earlier than you want to, maybe just 30 or 20 minutes, so that you could have time before your family is up to where you can have some quiet time, some meditation, some prayer, reading a few pages of a really good positive book, and to where you have your brain in the right place to go out there and then attack your entire day. Your mindset will be different. I always told my daughters as I was raising them, don't ever be running late, because when you're running late, guess how you are? You're beating yourself up the whole entire time. And so if you're running late on your entire day because you didn't take time to set the foundation in the morning, then you're going to be in that zone where you're like, oh my gosh, I hate myself. I didn't get the laundry done before I left the house. I didn't get my daughter's lunch packed like I wanted to. Whatever it might be, if you can set your morning, you're going to start out better. And then you're going to go out there with that positiveness. And then you have got to block the negative thoughts. It is so hard at times because we're the first one. What's really sad is we are the first one to bash ourselves in any situation. It's not other people out there. It's not your enemies. It's us. We do that. So we have to learn to be super strong with the negative self-talk and learn to push it out the minute it comes in. And one of the best ways to do that is to stay in high activity. Because if you're constantly working towards your goal, you don't have time to think thoughts. But when people are stagnant or they're not doing what they know they should be doing, then guess what they're doing in their head? They're beating themselves up even more. So it's just like this thing about getting ready for your day, being prepared in your mind, and then being in activity, positive activity movements towards your goal each day. So at the end of the day, when you can check off your list, you can say, I did this good. I did this good. I did this good. This one I should have done, but I'm going to do it tomorrow, first thing. And then you can sleep at night because you've had a great day and you've fulfilled a lot of things that you needed to.
I love that because it's also holding ourselves accountable, right? Like it's not just I'm going to sit here and I'm going to bitch and whine about, oh, this isn't going my way because of all these other things. It's kind of like, well, what am I actually doing in the way of getting to where I want to go, right? And so having that accountability, making those few minutes in the morning for yourself where it's like, what is my main priority today? What do I really want to accomplish? What's going to make me feel good about myself? What's going to get me closer to my goal, right? And having that clarity, like you said earlier in the show, of what's your why, because that's when it gets tough. That's when your why is what's going to make it easy, right? So one of the things that we love to do inside our Seizing Happy community is we like to read amazing books like this, obviously, and we like to do it together. And then I get our members to submit a few questions about their experience with the book. So one of those questions that we have is what is the thing that holds most people back from getting to where they truly long to be? What is the main thing that holds us back from getting to where we want to be?
I think that it's mainly like what we've said. It's ourselves. I mean, we're really standing in our own way. But I think a step further to take that is we're not recognizing the small wins along the way. So we're setting these big goals for ourselves, whether it be in health, in careers, and family. And I think we're seeing this big goal. But I think what can hold us back, and this is why we love the journal. I mean, we're women that are using this. We like to check things off and write it down and see it actually happen. I think what we're failing to do a lot of times is we're failing to see the small wins along the way. So all of those small wins add up to greatness. And so we really wanted to help everybody in that book say, no, you are winning. You are progressing. You are moving forward. It's kind of like when you look at yourself in the mirror every day and you don't see change, and then you run into a girlfriend and they're like, oh my gosh, like what happened? You looked amazing. What's going on? We don't see that because we're doing it every day in and out. So we're trying to help people. And I think that that's a great way that we brought this tool into with the journal, is that we want people to celebrate, and we want to celebrate too along the way, all of those small wins along the way, because otherwise we're the first to hold ourselves back, but we're also the first to say, I don't think I'm going anywhere, or maybe this isn't working, but it is. And we're here to show you that it is every small win of the way.
Something I really love about the journal, and I have that copy right here also, is that it's so practical, right? Like it's not these super long, elaborate, like you need to spend 30 minutes every day with this journal in order for it to work. Because as a new mom, I can tell you, I don't have 30 minutes to spend on pretty much anything except like my very carefully slotted in times on Thursdays and Mondays right now, where I dedicate my time to my clients and my time to my podcast and my other stuff. Like other than that, throughout the day, I don't have 30 straight minutes to give to almost anything. And I absolutely love about this 90-day journal that it's like a 5-minute thing. Like I can just sit down with it and I can just go through my gratitude, go through my mindset, go through my plan, go through like, what is my day really going to look like today? How am I going to be holding myself accountable at the end of the day for what it is that I want to do and how I want to end my day? How do I want to feel about myself at the end of the day? And I can do all that in just 5 minutes with the journal. And I love that because I don't think we have a ton of time. A lot of women don't have a ton of time to sit down for 30, 40 minutes to journal, right? But this kind of like grabs all of that we are supposed to be journaling about and supposed to be really tapping into with ourselves in like a quickie, just like 5 minute. What made you guys want to incorporate this journal with the book? I've read a lot of books. We read a book every month inside the community, right? I've read a lot of books and a lot of them are very useful and they have a lot of information, but there are very few books out there that are partnered with an actionable item like this. So what made you guys want to put the journal as part of the companion for the book?
I think pretty much our history in our businesses, because we have both used journals throughout our years very consistently, and we just know when you write it down, more is done. Bottom line, it's just like if you go to the store to buy groceries, if you half the time I write down my list and I still leave it at home, but I know what I wrote because I wrote it down. And so for me, it's that accountability is taking pen to paper, and also something that's so huge in this process is being able to look back, because so often we have the fear of looking back on how we used to do. I'm sure, Gigi, maybe you look back on your very first podcast and you're like, oh, kind of cringe. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. But like, I know I do that on my socials, like on my reels and things that I do. I look back at the first ones and I'm like, but guess what? You can see how far you've gone. And that's why it is so good to write this stuff down, because we're each growing every single day. And you're not going to be able to see that growth without going back to page 1 and going, oh my gosh, this is where I wrote my I decide decision, my first moment where I was going to make this change. And now look where I am. So it's important for looking back as well.
I love that, to kind of just measure yourself, to measure your growth. And I think that that's part of one of the tools that we can use for those celebratory moments. To celebrate those small wins, we need to first be able to see them, right? Like first be able to say, oh, that was the moment, or that was the thing. So the next question that we have submitted from the community is, where do you muster up the strength to stay on track when you have already decided that you want to make the big change, but you kind of like fall off the wagon, right? Like our learned behaviors kind of get in the way and we go back to the behaviors and the stuff that wasn't really getting us anywhere. How do you muster up the strength to stay on track?
I think that it goes back to the why, like Lisa mentioned. I think, really being rooted and knowing why you made this decision, why you decided to move forward. And we love to use the analogy, again, we're visual people, that we want people to remember that this, well, one life, business, whatever it may be, it's a roller coaster. We have two choices. We can be on the merry-go-round and go round and round. And yes, we're gonna fall. Lisa and I love to say, a lot of people see the end journey. They don't talk about the triumphs and the failures along the way. I think it's embracing, and we have found the joy and knowing that this is a roller coaster, and we're going to have the high highs and we're going to have the low lows, but you better believe I'm not getting off my ride because I want to go up on the high again. So I think it's realizing and recognizing and rooting and writing down and saying out loud why you're doing this and what you're trying to accomplish. And I think the inevitable is recognizing and realizing we're going to fall. We're going to fall. We're going to fall down. But it's how we get back up. And what are we going to do the next day? And we're not going to just say, that's it, I'm done. No. And I think the biggest point that we were hoping to grasp with this book is we want to be your girlfriend. We wanted this to come off that we're two best friends talking to other best friends of saying, you can do this. And yes, you're going to fail, but we're going to help you. And we're going to help you get up stronger each time. And we want to be on the roller coaster with you, because that I decide moment, it's coming. It's just a matter of buckling up and staying the course.
I love that. It's coming. You just have to decide. And then you just have to stay on your path. And that's what the journal is for. It's really fantastic. It's really practical. The book is amazing. Like you ladies both said, it's an easy read, right? And you can kind of read it along with the journal because it kind of helps you to implement from the beginning. You can implement so easily with this book from the very, very first chapter. It's very actionable. It's very tangible tools that you're going to get. And so I absolutely, absolutely loved reading this, loved sharing it inside the community. And you can buy your own copy of I Decide, the happy little guide to living your best life at www.idecidebook.com. And you can follow Lisa and Erin at I Decide Book on Instagram. Thank you so, so much, ladies, for joining me on the show today. Any last words that you want to wrap up with?
I just want to thank you for bringing the message that you're bringing to the world. And I think more women need to be in support of more women who want to make change and make their own lives better, and to have that belief and to let go of the fear. And I know you're doing that every day on this podcast. And so I just want to thank you. And I just want to keep going, ladies and men. It's not just the book's not just for ladies, but keep going and believe in yourself. We believe in you. And let's just, as a team, let's just go and achieve all of the goals that we truly want out there in our lives, because we have it in us. Every single person has within them right now everything they need to get to where they want to go. So we want you to keep going till you get there.
I love it. I couldn't say it any better myself, other than, we're so honored to come on and be a part of your audience and your journey. And we've followed you. We've looked everything. You are like doing amazing things. And we embrace people like you that are changing the world. So thank you for letting us be a part of that.
Thank you. Likewise, it's what I love the most is bringing women like you onto the podcast to share how you're leaving a footprint and helping us all as a collective to be better, to be stronger, to be wiser, right? And most importantly, Lisa, I loved what you said, and it's to be in collaboration with each other, to be in support of each other. I think that us women, we're each individually so magical and so capable, but we are significantly stronger when we are working together. When we bring our magic with each other, I think that we are an unstoppable force. And so thank you for creating this space and this journal and this book, for giving the tools to all the women and men out there who are looking to decide to do better, to be better for themselves above all things. So thank you so much for being on the show. I love having you. And if you're listening to the podcast right now, or if you are watching on our streams, I want to let you know that we are going to be raffling a copy of the book and raffling a copy of the journal. There is one copy to be won, and the easiest way to win is you're going to screenshot however it is that you're listening. So you might be listening on one of our podcast streamings, or you might be watching on YouTube, one of the replays. Whichever way you're watching, I want you to screenshot yourself watching it And I want you to tag the Chats with GiGi podcast as well as the I Decide book on Instagram. And we're going to randomly choose a winner within the first 48 hours. Let's make that 24. I'm gonna put a little speed on this. Within the first 24 hours of this podcast airing. So as you're listening to this right now, you've got 24 hours to screenshot where you're listening from, and you tag the Chats with GiGi podcast and I Decide book on Instagram. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. And if you loved this episode of Chats with GiGi, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review on iTunes, and share it with a friend. If there's a guest or topic you'd like on the show, let me know. You can find me across all social media platforms as GiGi Diaz Live, or head on over to my website, www.gigidiaz.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll be back next week. Until then, I'm sending lots of love and light your way.